Okay, so today I have the pleasure of talking with Giulia Ciammaichella from Link Japan. Giulia is a TV broadcaster and speaks many languages. Giulia, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you today. Could you please just start by telling us a bit about yourself?
Thank you, James. I'm very pleased and honored for this invitation. Thank you so much. As you told, I founded Link Japan about 30 years ago, and is a coordination and TV program agency for Japanese broadcaster. So I usually use the Japanese as language to work and English as my third language.
So you speak English, Italian,
yeah,
and Japanese.
And Japanese. And I can say it's a everyday struggle or everyday study. I mean, when you study a foreign language, you need to study it continuously, because language is living like us, like culture, and is modifying every day. So like opera singers, it's a never-ending study. You need to study every day and just listen to the modification of the languages. I'm not speaking about only of the person to whom I'm speaking. That's a really trick.
You've clearly done a lot of studying about language and in languages. So you have a master's degree in modern foreign languages, and you said you studied at university in English.
And you have to compare many other aspects, not only language, but as I told you, also manner, etiquette, mindset, and beginning from self-awareness. This is so important. And maybe what I can tell you, I get in touch with native English speakers when I coordinate international events. In 2006, I was chief coordinator of 𝗀𝗴𝗃𝗃, the television 𝗀𝗴𝗃𝗃 in Torino Olympic Games. And from there on, I had the chance to get in touch with native English speaker whenever I make this coordination work in international events, and use in that occasions I can use English and Japanese, not so much Italian language. But anyway, I think that the problem is self-awareness. Not so many people are conscious about their own language, their own culture, compared to other countries' language and culture.
So yes, when we think about different cultures, is it fair to say there are also different types of English? Because you mentioned in Japanese that there's, shall we say, everyday English and business English.
Yeah.
They are very different. Do you find when you're speaking English that there are different types of English?
Yeah, I think there's quite another code for business that is different from everyday colloquial one. So if you use a language to work, you have to know even how to use that language, in what context. And every contest has its own rules. So you have to know the contest, the person to whom you are speaking, and adjust the language to that contest and to that person.
It sounds to me as though you've put a lot of thought and effort
Yeah.
into learning languages and thinking about how to adjust to achieve effective communication. Do native English speakers typically have the same level of thought and put the same level of effort into adjusting the way that we use English?
Unfortunately, for what concerns my experience, no. Because English native speaker, I think they don't have this self-awareness, and they are satisfied just to speak a universal language. They think they don't need to adjust this language to the others. But on the contrary, I think the English native speakers think that the others has to adjust, has to study at a level good for communicate. So we are asked, I feel this, we are asked to study to a certain level to communicate in this language. But the native English speaker don't need to make any effort.
I suppose some people would say that if studying English brings so many benefits, it's the key to international communication, understanding scientific documents, why should native speakers of English make any effort to adjust the way they communicate? Isn't it just your problem as an Italian to learn my language if it gives you this opportunity? Why should I have to adjust my language to help you?
Okay, in my opinion, when you speak to a foreigner, you have the chance to get in touch with him, his language, his culture, his country, and everything. So it's a cultural exchange. And if you have this cultural exchange, you improve yourself too. You can go forward, you can go, you can update yourself and make and go forward and have much knowledge. So it's always everybody should improve their communication skills to have these cultural exchanges and to get better, to go forward. It's a very precious time. So nobody could lose the chance to improve. And that's why also English native speakers should study how to make their communication more effective, more fluent, how to adjust to other people of other countries and other cultures to make these cultural exchanges. We need to break the barriers, to avoid the bias, and really to make these cultural exchanges.
What sort of problems have you noticed in the way that native English speakers communicate? Can you think of anything specific or any particular examples that you've seen?
When you work in a multinational company or just in an international event, as I told you before, you need not to lose time, and because losing time is losing money. And I'm sorry, everything goes to money, but anyway, it's the best reason people understand.
I was thinking, Giulia, when you said that part of your interaction with native English speakers was around sporting events. You mentioned the Olympics, you mentioned live broadcasts. And I thought, wow, that is pressurized, because you have I think you must have a very short time to get the communication right. Is that true?
You are right. You are right. And in those occasions, I use English and Japanese, so not my language. And I don't have time to think a lot in the construction of the phrase, even in the grammar point of view. But I need to reach the point as soon as possible and to be effective with people I don't really know. Because, you know, you get in touch with these people only for the period of the event, which is, I mean, some days. So it's something I had to learn a long time ago, how to be effective using English and Japanese in a short time. But when you have a video call, a work video call, or something like, I don't know, a meeting on Zoom, just like now, maybe English native speaker should give more time to the non-English native speaker. They should wait a little bit more and respect the silence. Is something Italians don't like. So I can tell you for sure, silence has to be respected, because there's so many different meanings you don't know. And you don't know because are different culture meanings, not like your culture's one. So, but if you wait, if you give the other this time, precious time, you can have the best answer, and you can even understand the underneath meanings that are not on the surface.
That's
Does it
very
make sense?
useful advice, I think. That's very useful advice, to give people time so the person you're speaking to has time to think about their answer, has time to understand the question as well, I suppose, first. And then if I'm listening to somebody, you're saying I need to pause, think, find all the information in the answer they've given, understand the complexity of what they're saying. So it's about listening very carefully and thinking very carefully, being sensitive to that person and that culture. You were talking about precious time and live broadcasts and how quick everything has to be. And I guess you're not simply having to deal with things quickly, but I'm thinking with many different people almost at the same time. I don't have a television background, but you must have producers, people at the venues, different sports personalities, ground staff or whatever, cameramen, editors, microphone people, I don't even know the terms, but all these people exchanging information at once in English and in Japanese, and you have to deal with all of that. That sounds like a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's right. It's a lot of pressure, and it depends on what level and what is the argument of the conversation. As you just mentioned, if you are speaking with soundman or a cameraman, it's like a language. But if you speak with a chief producer or an organizer, or FIFA, FIFA, or something like, a very high level person, you have to change your language and even your manner and the etiquette too. So it's always a very hard time to adjust the language to the people and the context you are speaking, and trying to be transparent.
What's it like socializing with native English speakers in English for you? Is that easier or is it harder?
It's very important. It makes my job easier, but it's not easy to do. Native English speaker has a different humor, use different gesture, and it's not easy even to read their face. So you have to find the proper code to get in touch and reach their hearts. But as Italian, I can easily break these barriers. I think I'm a privileged as Italian, because we get friends so easily. We are icebreaker from DNA.
You said you were working during the Olympics. What was which Olympics was that about?
It's a Winter Olympic Games in Turin, the city where I live, and it was in 2006, and I was chief coordinator. That means that I had a staff of about 30 persons to coordinate, because I worked in Japanese television's consortium. And so there were many different televisions which had different needs, and they come all together, these plays, Japan consortium, to explain their needs, and they found there people who could help them to solve the problems.
What was your favorite moment from the Winter Olympics?
Okay, I had the chance to attend Mrs. Arakawa Shizuka, which was at that time the gold medalist in ice skating. And I was in charge to rent the ice place for her to make a separate and exclusive training session. As I did it, I rent a place, but she didn't want to train her by herself. And so she told me, Giulia, please come in the ringside and skate with me. Obviously, I wasn't able to do this, but was such a kind request, and I couldn't avoid it. I just tried to do my best, but I will remember it forever. So I can tell I skated with Mrs. Arakawa Shizuka, gold medalist.
That's absolutely fantastic.
No, not if you see the images, the videos of that, but anyone will not see. It's a secret, so it's okay.
I suppose that's because you're in charge of television broadcasts. You can decide what people see and what they don't.
Yeah, sure.
Could you tell me a little bit more about your company?
Okay, the Link Japan was it's interesting because it was made by 8 women founders, and I'm in this group. So we specialized in Japanese television coordination services, fixer, location hunting, and coordination on site of different television programs or even live broadcast. And that's the same we are doing right now. And then from 2000 and 2013, before Milan Expo, we began to coordinate and produce events to promote the Japanese culture in Italy, which is I like very much.
What advice would you give to somebody, let's say a British person who needs to work with people from Italy and then also needs to work with people from Japan? What are the key things they should think about?
Don't force people to lose their face. That's the point. Respect the role, the hierarchy. Italy is a high contest culture. We have a hierarchy, and so a foreigner has to respect the role of the people.
What about working in Japan?
In Japan, it's very similar. The concept of hierarchy. You have a hierarchy, but is stronger than Italy. In Japan, you have this hierarchy even in a contest outside the company, outside the job. You have also senpai and kohai, which is someone is higher than you, and it's it can be even a friend, but it's it's older than you, or is a classmate of before you, and you have to respect this role too. So you have to know this culture to adjust your language and respect the others. Yeah, otherwise it will be one-way communication. I mean, you as a native English speaker obviously will speak, but it doesn't mean that the Japanese will listen to you, can listen to you, can answer to your questions if you don't find this proper code.
So it goes beyond language and into understanding the culture and the code. It's interesting. I was thinking when you were talking about the hierarchy, that you have different words to use when you're talking to people. English, I think, is quite unusual in that respect. There's only one word for you.
That's why I like English so much. That's why I love English.
Giulia, I think we're coming to the end of the time that we have booked for this. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I've learned so much. Thank you ever so much for joining me today.
So I like so much your job, James, and I wish you have all the success in this world, because you are the first person I met as an English native speaker to wonder how to make more effective communication. Thank you so much.